welcome to the very first episode of Hot Flash Mama Podcast. So the reason I'm doing this podcast is very simple. I've been in menopause twice. The first time it was because I was doing a birth control and it put me into menopause and I just had no clue what was happening, scared me to death. So I want to help others that maybe are going through it. And now I've gone through it a second time and I'm 54 now. It's over 20 years later and I want to kind of give you guys some hope and some help and just, hopefully make you laugh during this time because sometimes that's all we can do. And laughter is the best medicine. If you stick around till the very end of the show, I'm going to give you a list of some of the things that I tried that helped me a lot for some of the symptoms. And then in future episodes, I am going to go into much more detail. I know that everybody's different, so I really want to get more in depth and kind of cover each topic individually for the different people and what they may be going through. We can be going through menopause or peri-menopause as early as our 30s. Anybody that has had a hysterectomy may experience it. That's called a surgical menopause. So it's not just for people in their 50s and 60s. This can be as early as your 30s and even earlier for some women. As I mentioned, I was in my early 30s when I went through it the first time. It was really scary. So I'm going to share my little story with you so you can kind of put yourself in the place that I was. So one night, in the middle of the night, I woke up and honestly, I thought I had wet the bed. My clothes were wet. Everything was wet. My clothes were wet. My body was wet. My hair was wet. And I jumped out of bed and I thought, oh my goodness, I wet the bed. I looked over and my husband at the time was still asleep. And if you look at the sheets, if you can imagine those crime scenes on one of those movies or TV shows of a chalk outline of someone's body, it was almost that bad with sweat. It was crazy. I had had a night sweat and I just had no clue what it was. It just kind of freaked me out. Of course, going back to bed was impossible. Going back to sleep was not an option. So I just, I wanted to know what was happening. And that was really the thing that kind of got me. I had already been struggling with a slew of other symptoms that I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea that they were menopause or perimenopausal symptoms. I struggled with brain fog. I would start talking and I could lose my train of thought and I wouldn't be able to finish what I was talking about because I would just get lost in my own head. It was pretty crazy. It was something that was not normal for me. It wasn't something that I usually struggled with, but it had been for the last couple of years. I was tired all the time because I wasn't sleeping. I had insomnia. It was a lack of energy. I was constipated. That was really something I didn't have any idea. But the biggest one that I had no idea was menopause or perimenopausal symptoms was that I was having these mood swings. I would get so angry that I would be gritting my teeth and just trying to keep from exploding, it felt like. I had started seeing a mental health professional over it because I thought I was losing my mind. I had gone to her for several visits, but it wasn't the problem. The problem were my hormones at the time. My hormones went from being a normal, just gave birth. I was, experiencing all the just natural things that women in their early 30s or late 20s go through. And then I started the birth control that stopped my menstrual cycle, which I thought was kind of a bonus, but later found out that that was really not a good thing. And because I was going through all of this at such a young age, I was just surprised and I just didn't know what route to take. So the night that I woke up with the night sweat where I was drenched, that really prompted me to figure out what was happening. So I started talking to people, I started reaching out, and I met this amazing lady. Her name was Jane. She actually owned a progesterone cream company. Now, progesterone is a natural, it comes usually from wild yam extract or soy, depending on the manufacturer. And it is a cream that you rub on your body into the fatty tissue area. And I'm not going to go into great details, but I will tell you in the book what your doctor may not tell you about menopause, or there's also one, what your doctor may not tell you about perimenopause. Dr. John Lee talks about how this progesterone cream can actually help balance the hormones in your body. Progesterone and its role in our bodies is so fascinating, and I cannot wait to share more on this in a future episode for you. But if you just can't wait, I have put a link in the description on where you can find that book. My goal is to link everything that I talk about in the description so that you don't have to go searching like a crazy person trying to find the things that I talk about. It's going to be a link of some sort in there or a description. Life is way too short to have to comb through tons of information to find something when you can actually have it at your fingertips. This is not intended to diagnose or treat. I am not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. This is one friend sharing her experiences with another friend, hoping to give you a little bit of hope in these areas that, like I said, the first time I was lost. So the second time going through the symptoms, it was so much easier. I knew what I needed to do. I knew I could recognize what was happening. It was a little different. It is a little different, I should say, the second time around, because my body is doing it slowly and naturally. It is just making the second time so much easier. Now, you're probably wondering, if I was in menopause before in my early 30s, how did I get back out of it? And I want to share that with you because I feel like if you did what I did and you went on either a birth control or something, you can actually come back again. Now, a lot of people think that menopause is going to be great because they are no longer having a menstrual cycle. We tend to dread the menstrual cycle because it can be, for some people, it can just be a headache and cramping and last forever and have different symptoms and things that go with it. Not to mention it's a little inconvenient, sometimes messy. We plan our vacations around it, or we just plan our life around it because we're women and that's what we do. And it's nice to think about that freedom. Well, it is nice to not have one, but when you really look into what is happening in your body when you no longer have a menstrual cycle, it is rapidly starting the aging process. Most women notice that once their menstrual cycle actually stops, that they start noticing all the aging parts. So pre-menopause is actually a syndrome, according to Dr. Lee, that can start in your early 30s, even if you're not doing birth control. And I'll go into more detail on that. But again, I will reference the book in the description. Peri-menopause is the symptoms that you're going through, like the hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, constipation, insomnia, mood swings. That's something that you are experiencing because your body is starting the aging process. Now, I want to tell you what I did to kind of get myself out of menopause, because once I realized that I didn't want to start aging faster than lightning, I talked to Jane about it and we came up with a little protocol that I did using the progesterone cream. That's what I use. There's other things that you can use if progesterone is not available to you. I do know in some states it's not available, and they have these warnings on them that is just, to me, is just kind of interesting. I won't say my opinion, but there's a lot of other things out there that aren't natural that have a lot worse results and a lot worse side effects. So I just can't believe that natural progesterone cream is something that they are red flagging, but they do. And I used that to help balance and bring myself out of menopause. Of course, I did stop taking the birth control that was causing me to go into it. And then I had to balance things out. It was a bumpy ride, but it was so worth it because I had a good 15 years, well, almost 20 years of a normal cycle and a normal life. And it helped a lot to keep me from having all of those crazy symptoms. When I got my menstrual cycle back, everything just went back to normal. It took about probably 2 years, I would say, to get me back into normal. And I did do some cleanses. I did a lot of different things that helped me to accelerate getting back onto a normal track. Now, I'm not saying this has a relationship, although after I had started this journey, I actually developed a couple of other fun things like fibromyalgia and lupus. And I'm going to talk into great detail in another episode about that and some of the symptoms that came with that, like hair loss. And I have a whole episode just on hair loss because you do experience it when you're going through peri-menopause, menopause, if you have lupus, any of those things. Actually, now they're saying the COVID situation that we went through can actually cause it. So I want to give you guys some things that I use that helped me in the past. I still experience it today. So I still struggle with having an episode or something come up that causes a lot of stress in my life, that causes me to go through the hair loss, as a symptom of the lupus. My goal is to be as transparent as I can. It is something that I struggled with in private for so very long that I just realized how selfish that was. It's very selfish of me to go through all of this and not share my story with other people if they can benefit from it. So even if I can help a couple of people, that is fabulous. That would just really make me happy. I actually, because of all the health issues that I've had in my life, I studied to be a naturopathic doctor, and I also became a certified nutritional consultant. So I did have the opportunity to work with people in the past that were going through similar situations as I, not just menopause, but, fibromyalgia and all of those fun things. I at one point had a health food store. I opened a health food store because I thought, wow, I can help people. But I found that one-to-one type situation, I'm great at helping people get started, but I'm not interested in just holding people's hands. If you aren't motivated enough to do something about what you're experiencing, then I am not going to make you. It's not my job to make you do something about it. It's my job to encourage you to do something about it. And that's my goal. So if you're struggling from any of the symptoms that I've talked about today, brain fog, there's some things that you can do for brain fog that really helped me a lot. One of the things that really helped me was doing cleanses. And I'm going to do an entire episode on cleansing because I'm such a big fan. There's just so many types of cleanses. You can do a whole body cleanse. You can do a candida cleanse, a parasite cleanse, a liver cleanse. You can do a lymphatic cleanse. There are so many cleanses out there. I mean, how many people are going to have this huge party in their house and then not clean it up afterwards, right? For brain fog, I'm also a big fan of fish oils. I think that they're very helpful. There's also, if it's an age related, which means if you're experiencing this after, say, menopause, there is a product called Prevagen that may help you. It's not something that I personally have tried, but I know a lot of people that have tried it and really had great results with it. I think brain fog can also be helped with any probiotic. I love probiotics. I'm a big fan. And I'm going to kind of lead into the next thing, which is constipation, which probiotics can help also with constipation. There's a product called Cleanse More that is a magnesium and aloe vera based product that has been super helpful for me over the years. It is something that really it kind of saved my life because I struggled with that pretty hardcore. The wild yam capsules that I talked about, wild yams actually, according to Dr. Lee, I have to say that because I'm, again, not a doctor, but he recommends that as something that you can take that can help your body produce its own progesterone, which in return can help with other hormones. Then we're going to talk about insomnia. There's a great product out there. If you're having trouble sleeping right now, there's a really great product out there called Happy Sleeper. and I love it. It's fabulous. I'll go into great details in another episode, but it's been very helpful for me. Always read the ingredient list. Make sure you always ask your doctor or check with some kind of a healthcare practitioner before you start any supplement or exercise program, anything that you do. The last thing that I want to mention is energy. Energy was always something I struggled with. I am crazy about a multivitamin that I've taken for years. It's called Life Essence. It's a 4-a-day formula. It is a whole food supplement, so it's supposed to act like food in the body. I can easily take it on an empty stomach and it doesn't bother me. I usually don't take all 4 at one time. I usually break it up between breakfast and lunch. Another thing that may be zapping your energy levels besides insomnia and not taking a good probiotic and a good multivitamin is your adrenal glands. For me, my adrenal glands were completely depleted because I had lived through some pretty crazy stuff. And starting menopause in your late 20s, early 30s is definitely not something that's easy to do. So I love it's something called adrenal caps. And I just take 2 of those a day. Again, maybe breaking it up. It's not something you take every day, but it's something that you would take for a short period of time and then you repeat it if you need it. So that kind of wraps up where we're at today. I just want to touch base, kind of let you know what to expect. And if you have any questions or if you have any input, I would love to hear from you. You can email me at help@hotflashmamapodcast.com. I'm trying to keep these podcasts between 15 and 20 minutes because your time is valuable and so is mine. I really want to just kind of get to the point and make sure that we're touching on the things that are important. And then if we need to do more in depth, we will. I also have some really fabulous interviews set up with some very fabulous people. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And I hope to see you on the next episode of Hot Flash Mama Podcast.